Okay, yeah. Yeah. So everybody, thanks for coming here and attending, I guess, this presentation that we're going to be doing on Titan's API as well as its new Dart router. So basically, for those of you who may not know, Titan is a meta aggregator on Solana. So what is a meta aggregator? Basically, we aggregate other routers, whether that is Jupyter's binary, OKX, 0x, BitGet. We search through all the routers and provide you the best price at no extra cost on that side. But in addition, we do also have our own proprietary router that performs extremely well. It is winning over 80% of the time against every other router out there. So definitely an improvement from our point of view. One unique distinction about our meta aggregator API versus other APIs, since this is a more technical discussion here, is that other APIs will only give you access to one router. We give you access to all the routers that we currently aggregate in one unified interface. So you don't have to worry about like how do I compare different routers? How do I figure out to compare quotes that may have originated on different blocks, latency, all that stuff. We handle all of that for you, as well as handle all the simulations to make sure that you actually get the best quote on that side. In addition, we offer both REST and WebSocket. REST is typically useful for like lots of projects where trading is not the main source of activity, as well as like it's an easy drop-in replacement if you're currently using the Jupyter API or Dflow API, for example. The WebSocket API is an improvement. This is what most of the trading firms and market making firms and so on do use. And as a trading firm, you want the most updated information, ability to execute on your quotes as fast as possible here. In addition to like our own off-chain proprietary router, which is called Argos, we also introduced Dart last week. So what Dart is the world's first on-chain router. Typically in crypto, what you see is that when a quote is generated for you, it's generated in a past state, and then it appears on the front end. You have to click swap, and then it actually executes after a period of time after you approve it. That's a long time, especially on Solana. That may take up to like 3-4 seconds for you actually to approve, and a lot of markets may have changed in that moment, right? So basically, what Dart does is that it takes your order, just like if you were placing an order on Apple for Apple stock, and then right at the moment it's about to execute, it searches through a lot of available liquidity on chain and automatically splits and distributes and finds the best market makers providing the best quotes at that point in time. So this is pretty revolutionary. It's basically bringing financial market structures in a basically regulated manner that the SEC would accept. And we think that this is definitely the future on there to guarantee you the best price when you are executing on chain. Now, Abinaw over here is gonna walk you guys through the API, both regarding our basic REST API and WebSocket APIs that include the off-chain router, as well as a Dart specific one as well. The Dart specific one, there is a free version for you guys to test out. It is rate limited to around 1 RPS, but yeah, feel free to test it out and just let us know how it goes on that side. So I'll just pass it off to Abinaw here.
Hi everyone. I am Abinaw, a system engineer at Titan. So I'll just walk you through all the stuff that we have right now with the API. Um, Dart stands for dynamically allocated real time. So this is as Chris explained, this is the first on-chain router on Solana, and we optimize your trade on chain at the exact moment of execution. I'll share a quick graphic that will depict this much better. So from the time you get the code and from the time you actually sign a transaction, there's a huge gap between that. And the traditional router, on-chain router, they're not able to re-optimize the price at the time of execution. With Dart, it re-optimizes at the same time you are going to execute the transaction, and because of that, we are able to give like better price as compared to on-chain routing, off-chain routing. Um, Recently, we have also announced a Dart API pairs, which are specific for Dart. It comes with like 1 RPS, no API key required. And if you need like higher request limit for a Dart limit, you can fill out a form at Titan's like developer docs, and we should be able to like allow you like a higher limit on your Dart API. Uh, Probably this is the best time to start using Dart API, as you must be building like lots of project for the hackathon. So you can give it a try. It's quite straightforward, like simple JSON response, and it's currently supported on a very limited pairs, but we are working on to add like new pairs soon. Moving on to our on-chain, off-chain routing. Um, Currently, we have both Titan Direct and Titan Gateway, which are like REST and WebSocket based integration methods. It's up to you to like we are giving you guys freedom to like choose the best method that suits your tech stack. But the underlying quoting engine is it's similar for both of these integration method. So there won't be like a data quality loss or anything. It's just a choice that you have to make. With Titan Direct, our Titan's main web app use Titan Direct, and we are able to like get a good amount of response on it. Similarly goes for REST. It I'll just brief you through the difference. So Titan Direct, it's a WebSocket based API, allows real-time streaming of code simulated against up-to-date network data, are useful for user interactive application on web frontend, and powered, it also powers the official Titan app. I will give a quick demo on this. So that we have Titan's API playground that walks you through how all the API works. I'll just give a small demo on it. Um, are you able to see my screen? Okay. So yeah, this app is like open source on our GitHub. You can access it anytime. Um, these are all the endpoints that we have right now, from partners to demo APIs. You just need to add your own JW tokens and start connecting. Once you'll connect, you'll get the basic information about the particular JWT token you have. Like for example, this one is like protocol one version 1.3.0, and it supports max concurrent stream of two at this point. So it depends on all the different API, different JWT tokens. Now coming on to the swap configurations, you can like for testing you can set any tokens as you need. You can add custom tokens that you want to get a quote on, and you can add your decimals according to it. Since we simulate all the transaction before sending a request, we you need to pass an on curve uh, public key to like get a quote. And here you can set your slippage, which is default 0.5%, and an interval on how frequently you want to get an update. So this is the default WebSocket version. I'll give a quick demo on the Soul USDC. So here you can see all the providers that we support right now. You have OKX, Metis, and Bebop. If you want to get like more info on these routes, you can click on any of these, and you'll have the hops that particular route is gonna go with. For example, this one is gonna go with like it keeps on updating, but you can get an idea of all the hops that particular route will go with. And on inspect side, you will get the instructions that you can use to build your own version transaction. And just in the playground app itself, you can get a small code snippet where you can like use this for like a basic starting point if you want. It gives all specific. Okay. Mm, can you hear me?
Playground, and then all the instructions for you accessing it will be available. The Titan Dart one, you don't need it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So on that website, right? So for Titan Dart API, you don't need an API key. If you want to use the WebSocket REST one, with full quotes, like including the non-Dart ones, then you'll have to message us on that side.
I was wondering why there's no when asking for slippage, why there's no lowest button? Because technically, I would personally want to have it as the lowest possible.
So there is a setting in the API. It's like minimum slippage basis points. So if you are trading stables, for example, and you only want like 1 basis point of slippage, you just set it to 1, and then you're fine on that side.
Yeah, but what I mean is that with another pair, if I would put it to one, the transaction might not land. But
Yeah.
how
So
do I know if it could have worked at 4 at 11?
so that's slippage data history. Like we do collect that internally, but we don't really expose that at that point in time. You can assume that like majors are I would probably give 10 basis points slippage. Stables I would give 1 to 2 basis points slippage, and then like anything else probably like 50 basis points, like meme points and stuff. That's typically what we see in the market.
Are you planning to maybe have something to calculate the average in the past that worked at the lowest basis point and like to suggest me, okay, you can technically go as low as 10 basis
Yeah,
points?
so like technically like this is a worst case scenario. We could add that in, but like this is a user parameter on that side. Like we could add in our execution settings as another setting onto the API, but we thought we would give more flexibility to the user in this scenario because even if you set like slippage at 2 basis points, what we see with Dart is your slippage is typically 0.01 basis points on Sol USDC. So it's like you're basically getting exactly what you're promised. Like for reference, like 0.01 basis points, like 0.00001% of difference there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, Simon.
Yeah. Cool. Not right now. Not right. I know this is like pretty much a technical walkthrough of Dart, but a lot of our audience is maybe new to Solana or Colosseum in general. Can you talk about what problem you saw a year and a half ago or 2 years ago when you started to think about building Titan, and what brought you to Colosseum as like part of your funnel towards kind of launching this product?
Yeah. So I guess the question, correct me if I'm wrong, and rephrasing it, is like, why did we decide to build Dart, and what was like our pathway to Coliseum on that side? So like for Dart, like a year ago, there was only one aggregator on Solana, right? Basically, it was this Jupiter. But we noticed a huge issue where like that quote to execution gap was very long. Quotes were being held for 10 seconds. Solana's blockchain updates every 400 milliseconds. We also saw the advent of prop AMMs. That means like these market makers are updating their quotes not once a block anymore. They're updating it like thousands of times within 400 milliseconds on the stage. With that, you really have to narrow down this gap between your quote to execution time. Everything done off chain has an issue. Everybody's been following the Uniswap V2 model, where when you click, you get a quote, then you click swap, then you click approve on your wallet. For a front end retail user, 3-4 seconds on Ethereum, that's fine. On Solana, that's a bunch of code updates done already, right? So you might have slipped quite heavily, especially because the routes the aggregators give off chain is locked down. So just imagine if you want to trade 100 shares of Apple. You could trade, these shares exist on New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, a couple other various exchanges in the US, right? But when you trade, you don't lock down which exchanges you want to trade through. You just send an order through, and then US regulations require that that order be split up to whoever has the best prices at that point in time. Dart does this exactly. So when you execute a trade, it hits on chain right at the moment before it executes. It checks all the quotes on the market makers, and it will dynamically split your trade into best percentage splits, right? So it's basically functioning like a regulated market in this scenario. So I guess yeah, that was the main reason why we decided to build Dart. When we decided to join Colosseum, I guess last year, we did see a major gap in the market. It wasn't being fulfilled. Innovation was starting to slow down, and we saw an opportunity just to take advantage of that and enter in very effectively, just given our backgrounds working in a trading shop and focusing a lot on routing technologies there.
I think we'll have this question. When you
reset the.
I'm so sorry, my lap.
Oh,
We have a cut off.
Can try out the Dart API, right? It covers all the majors on there. It will reduce slippage quite effectively on that side. Like even for BTC, Ethereum, Trump, you're getting sub 1 basis point slippage, which is actually unheard of even in like Apple or Nvidia. So, yeah. Did you have a question? All right.
And actually, public, is that the the quote gets exceeded a percentage within all the market makers? Is that how it's designed?
Yeah, so it's like diametrically splitting. Let's say like you want to trade $100 worth, right? I'm going to figure out the best allocation between different market makers based on their quoted price. So you're like, I'm taking the best prices available.
So that quote might just go to one, or might go to all of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like whatever is best top of the book. If every market maker, let's say market maker one is quoting 3 of their quotes are at the top, the other one is like 2 of quotes at the top, the third one has no good quotes based on your limit sizing, it'll just select the first 2 market makers.
What do you guys use to build it?
Yeah, so the question is, what do we use to build this router? Um, a lot of the inspiration was taken from an off-chain router. Off-chain router was built entirely in Rust. Lots of mathematics involved as well, because this is a convex optimization problem on that side. Now, in terms of what we use to build the on-chain portion, one thing I could say is like very hardcore optimizations are done as long with our knowledge of the market making quotes.
Any general advice for people signing up for the Colosseum Frontier this time around?
Yeah, I think the main advice I would have for anybody competing in the hackathon is try and when you're trying to pitch your project, like try and tell a story and tell as many people as possible because you'll immediately figure out if you start losing interest somewhere, you'll figure out there's like, market fit or if there are aspects of your product you have to change because if it's not vibing with a substantial amount of, your target audience, whether that be hackathon judges or like, just general users, it'll be a very quick signal to you, and it all just takes us a couple conversations with people around the ecosystem here.
What if you receive like split feedback? Some people tell you they is like not really good fit, but some people say that's like perfect. In the case, like how do you basically move forward?
Yeah.
Build it?
Yeah, so I guess the question is like, what do you do to get split feedback? Whether it's like, somebody tells you it's all good, somebody tells you it's like not that good. I think you just have to be honest with yourself and just see what the feedback is. It's like if they're saying it's all perfect, it's like why are they saying perfect? It doesn't make sense. Do the same thing with the negative feedback and just try and collect as much as possible because everybody has different perspectives. Let's say like you have a user coming from Asia, they may be looking for different things compared to a user like in New York, for example. So it's like it really depends on your target audience and then like enough of a sample size that you can really get comfortable with it.
More technical too, and I guess posting locally, or you guys have a cloud host provider for it?
So in terms of our infrastructure, I guess the question is where are we hosting this infrastructure? The on-chain router is held all on-chain, so it's within the Solana contract on that side, our Salon program, right? In terms of our off-chain router, as well as figuring out the route morphologies, we have clusters around the world. So we have clusters in North America and Europe and Asia running all this infrastructure quite intensively. We do prefer to use bare metal over like AWS or GCP.
Did any follow-up questions?
What was the hardest part about not only getting Titan to market, but trying to stay ahead of competitors?
Yeah, I guess the question is what's the hardest part in getting time to market and staying ahead of competitors? I think the major problem is how do you solve for distribution, right? Because if you don't let people know that your product exists or can convince them like that you occupy a space in their mind, your product's not going to get distributed anywhere on that side. So it's like whatever it takes to get distribution, to get attention on that side, whether it's like asking Solana Foundation for some help, but Solana Foundation alone isn't going to make your product, right? Talking to like, journalists like Blockworks podcasts, um, anybody that you think can, help champion your product. You basically want to find people that like your product, will talk about it. Just let the wider audience just go ahead and get that interest to just try it out. All you need is a couple champions just to like drive your product forward and let other people know, because I think that's probably the most effective play in crypto. Just given that traditional marketing techniques don't really work.
Do you have any other slides or that you want to share?
Um,
If you were able to get
So like I guess Abina, if you want to show I guess the rest demo as well, then that would probably be good just to give an understanding, because I think we showed the WebSocket once that is more optimized for your market making firms, like your Jump, your Galaxies of the world on that side. But there are certain projects that don't need that type of latency, and it is harder to integrate on there.
One more question while he's getting that set up. Um, one last question referring to the Colosseum. Uh, when you guys participated, it was Colosseum Radar, which was fall of 2024, so about a year and a half ago. You guys won like our Canada track specifically, but you didn't actually place globally in the Colosseum. However, you guys, went on to raise capital a couple times around. So, what do you do when you're faced with a failure or a failure in general in terms of like a roadblock or your journey to market, that kind of stuff as a team? How did you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, so I guess the question is like, how do we deal with like setbacks, roadblocks, failures, stuff like that, right? I mean, not winning a hackathon on that side, it's just a stumbling block, right? On that side, as long as you have validation from yourself, your team, people investors, then like I would say just keep going at it, because Colosseum is just one set of investors, right? They're looking for projects to invest in, even if they believe that it's not going to invest in an opportunity. There are hundreds of investors out there that are willing to just keep pushing forwards. If you are extremely confident in your idea, if you're seeing product market fit, if your story really resonates with people, and you think that you could build a sustainable business around it, then you would just keep going at it, right? So I wouldn't let that distract. But of course, you do have to take the feedback from all these different people you talk to, whether it's good or bad. So I guess I'll pass it off to Abby now here.
Can you hear me, guys? I'm so sorry for the interruption. So I gave a small demo on the WebSocket API. There's this quick demo on the REST API. So REST API is quite straightforward. You'll just it's pretty simple. Uh, the the authentication method is quite same. You just need to pass the JWT tokens as similar to WebSocket ones. And here the only thing that we have added is you can either choose to not simulate the transaction and get the result faster. You can just add this into your request parameter. Uh, if you just get a code for Sol USDC, um, it will be like straightforward, like one response at a time. You need to poll it to get like multiple response. So these are like it's pretty. This is a response that you'll get. Another quick thing to like keep in mind that all the response that we send give from our endpoints are encoded in message paths. They're not in JSON, so you might need to like decode it from your on your own end. Uh, the REST API from with REST API, you can also get the other info. For example, like, the protocol is similar to how the WebSocket ones are, and you can query the venue uh, endpoint to get all the venues that we support right now, and you can query the provider endpoint to get all the provider that we are supporting right now. So yeah, that's about the REST endpoint. A few other things that I would like to mention before I close my demo. We have a TypeScript SDK that you can use for your WebSocket based integration, and we also have a Claude skill that you can use for your integration purpose. And we also give like 2 rush crates that you can use. So these are the resources that we have. And another great resource that you can start from is to like go over our developer docs, and it covers most of the basic points. Like it have guides and like few small examples that you can look over, and you can get started with the integration on that.
If there's any other questions.
If we want to learn more, who do we contact?
So you can contact me directly, or you could just reach out to the Titan team. I think most of us are within the Solana Canada super team chats as well. So
Do we have any video? Everybody, thank you for coming. That was Titan. Congratulations to Chris and Abby. Clap, clap. Hope you enjoyed it. Very insightful. Thank you so much, Chris. They are definitely one of the biggest and best teams to come out of Canada and the Super Team Network. We're happy to kind of have them as partners in the past. They've sponsored a bunch of our events, and we've helped them hire quite a few people. So big supporters, and we definitely look up to them and try to make them as kind of shining examples of what you should be striving for in this space, especially within the Colosseum. We do have a couple more workshops today, this afternoon, I think 4 and 5 p.m. There are a couple more workshops in here if you do want to join. And if you're online, we'll be streaming these to our X and YouTube. That's it. Any last comments? Nope.
I mean, just keep building what you're building, and like best of luck to everybody.
Cool. Thank you.